Hi, and welcome to Diversity Connect. My name is Mark Crawley. Today we are going to be talking about the BBC. So the BBC have a new scheme, or relatively new scheme, to try to create opportunities for disabled and neurodivergent individuals. It's called BBC Extend. And I thought what we do today is go through a sort of few of the high level sound bites about what the scheme is, why it exists, and I suppose then just trying to give an idea of the key things it's trying to achieve. Then I thought what we do is have a quick look at the website so I can show you how to navigate it, etc. What I would say as a bit of a disclaimer is I've got very little experience with this scheme at the moment. So what we always try and do at Diversity is to highlight anything where the intention is to support the neurodivergent community, particularly in employment. What I like about this scheme is it also seems to indicate that it's important to provide support after someone's employed. So we'll have a look at the scheme now in a little bit more detail. But I'd love your feedback afterwards, and of course, we'd love to hear whether you have ever applied for BBC Extend or have any thoughts on it. So let's go to the first side. So what is the scheme in the highest level of detail? So it's an initiative designed to create more accessible and inclusive pathways into employment and career progression. And that career progression one is quite important. Not a lot of organisations talk about that. And often it's about the focus on creating neuro-inclusive recruitment processes, which is of course very, very important. Trying to create sure they create career opportunities and supported opportunities within organisations, but looking at beyond that. Okay, how can we create and make a really equitable career progression system? So that's already quite a nice start for me. While it broadly supports individuals facing various barriers, its principles are particularly impactful for the ND community. So the scheme itself focuses on all disabilities and anyone protected by the Equality Act. But what's great about this is that there is a particular focus and wording around supporting the ND community. But really, what they're trying to say here, and the reason it's called Extend, is extending opportunities and ensuring that talent isn't overlooked due to traditional, often rigid workplace norms. So I suppose the focus on equality and rather than equity. What is quite an interesting target is the BBC aims to have 12% of its workforce identified as disabled by 2027, and the Extend scheme is a key part of that commitment. What I would imagine the BBC are looking at here is that if you can get people to disclose during these processes and via this scheme, then data capture becomes a lot easier going forward. Also, if I was a neurodivergent or disabled employee and I was working at the BBC and I hadn't disclosed, if I saw this type of scheme and I started to see more and more people come into the organisation, I'd probably feel a little bit more empowered to go and disclose myself. So data capture is a bit of a tricky area for a lot of organisations. So I'd be really keen to see any progress on this 12%. Particularly if it's a well quantified 12% as opposed to sort of an educated extrapolated guess or something like that within companies. So yeah, this 12% will be interesting to see. The core objectives here, and these are things that you can find quite easily when you search up BBC Extend, are obviously to reduce barriers, identify and dismantle systemic and practical obstacles to employment, to provide support, of course, and often tailored support, resources and mentorship, to promote inclusion, to encourage organisations to adopt inclusive practices and cultures, and unlock potential, help individuals realise their full professional capabilities. So if you look at these, and they're quite general, of course, and all organisations will probably focus on these type of objectives. But I think what's key here is that they have a dedicated scheme to create opportunities for neurodivergent individuals. And again, I quite like the idea of that, because I think it could really move things forward. So what we'll do today is we're going to actually have a look at the website, which we haven't really done before. So we'll have a look at that and see what we can do, and I suppose how it looks and how you navigate it. So this is the page you go into when you see BBC Extend. So I'm just going to zoom in a little bit, actually. It's a little bit small. There we go. Okay, so it's pretty much the information we saw at the top there, etc. But what I do like here is the frequently asked questions. So if you look at this area here, who can apply for the BBC Extend roles? So it's anyone protected by the Equality Act. The definition of disability, you can apply for BBC Extend roles. It says if you have you are a disabled person or have a physical or mental impairment has a substantial and long-term negative or adverse effect on your ability to do normal daily activities. The definition includes both apparent and non-apparent conditions and impairments and medical conditions such as cancer, HIV, or multiple sclerosis. It also includes people who identify as neurodivergent or as deaf and hard of hearing. Now, this is good in a lot of ways because it encompasses a lot of people. I think normal daily activities could maybe be reworded there, and there's quite a lot of focus again on what people can't do, as opposed to focusing around areas that you think we want to embrace talent, we want to embrace different ways of thinking, we want to embrace a wider skill set, etc. It seems a little bit ableist, but let's see if the dialogue changes through. And I've deliberately not read this too much in detail before the call. Should I disclose that I'm disabled? In order for us to ensure only disabled people are considered for BBC Extend roles, you need to tell us at application stage you identify, but you don't need to tell us what your impairment or condition is. There's an optional question in the application too to tell us about adjustments you require, etc. So what I'm guessing from this is there is no proof, there's no need for proof, right? And we all know how challenging it is for neurodivergent adults to get a diagnosis. And so I like the fact here that there's a focus around adjustments and support, as opposed to trying to say that I am autistic and I need this support. There's an option there to do that, I would suggest, but obviously if not, then if that's something you're not comfortable with or something that you don't feel is necessary information, then that's absolutely fine as well, it seems. Again, the question we get asked for any time that we work with individuals around employment: will I need to be in the office every day? And some roles we advertise may have a certain requirement for on-site attendance, especially if they're in the production or content related. I suppose that's fair. However, the BBC has a flexible working approach and some form of home working is an option for most roles. We also have bases throughout the UK. You can be based there, so not all roles are office-based, although there may be some requirements for travel, etc. So again, giving themselves a little bit of flexibility there, but it seems like there's an appetite to provide home working and flexible working if possible. And what I like about this is that it's not doesn't look like it's going to be a stubborn criteria. You need to be in the office 4 days a week, right? It's a case of, okay, we'll try our best here. And if we can't accommodate flexible working or home working, there should be a legitimate reason as to why we can't do that. So again, that seems pretty reasonable. One thing I did notice, there is a video here, which I've not watched, so I'd suggest having a look at that and see what you think. I would imagine it's a bit of a soundbite explanation video, fully accessible, etc. So what kind of roles are available? BBC Extend roles vary in type, length and seniority. We advertise vacancies ranging from scheduling assistants right up to senior journalist role, and we have non-content related roles such as HR specialists, graphic designers, etc. We aim to ring fence roles at all levels from entry to senior manager and vary our contract lengths from fixed term contracts to permanent positions. So I suppose what's saying then is it's not just one particular team or one particular area. This is a company-wide initiative where they'll look at a variety of roles. Now, it would be interesting to see behind the scenes if the teams themselves have had additional training and those Extend roles, how they identify the roles which are going to be under Extend. We'll look at the jobs that they have on the website in a second and see where we go from there. Apologies if the text's a little bit small. Let's just zoom in a little bit for this part here. So do you provide adjustments? The BBC are fully committed to providing workplace adjustments to eliminate barriers, etc., etc. If you're successful in applying for this role and require workplace adjustments, we will work with you to get your adjustments in place. We also provide adjustments application and interview stage. If you need to submit your application in an alternative format or you need support, please contact us at the email address below. So what's quite nice here is they don't just talk about adjustments in the interview and application process, they talk about support after that, which again can be really important. Obviously what that process looks like, is it going to be occupational health? Is it a situation where they work on a good faith basis, trust people until they give them a reason not to, etc. But it'd be interesting to see. But the fact that they allude to it and talk about it, I think is quite important. So here's a key question. How do you find BBC Extend roles? You can view all current BBC Extend roles on the careers website, and you can also sign up to our talent pool mailing list to hear about roles as soon as they become available. Also at the bottom here, you can contact the BBC Extend via the shared mailbox. So let's just have a quick look at that a second and see what comes up. And it would appear nothing. So, so that's really interesting. So let me just navigate my way back to that page a second. Okay, so then we're back here now. So let's have a look at all current BBC Extend roles. So if we look here, what we see is there's a variety of opportunities here. Now, where we have 7 roles. Now, just to give it context, I did look at the wider website, the wider roles available, and there's 100, I think over 100 roles available, but they've ring-fenced 7, and you can see very clearly they put extend at the end of each one of these, so you know which ones they are. And look, true to their word, there's a business affairs manager. Obviously, I don't know too much around their sort of seniority levels or what manager means, etc. There's a journalist, and there's an adjustments lead, a production manager. So there is a reasonably wide range of roles, as you expect with any large media company. But let's just click into one of these and see what we see from that point onwards. So again, very clear that it's part of the Extend program. We'll go through this. We're happy to discuss flexible working. So straight away, it does talk very much around the fact that it's that there is adjustments available. The closing date's very, very clear, etc. This is part of our BBC Extend program. So again, there's a big disclaimer and a lot more information around this. Then we talk about the actual role itself, why we join the team. Let's have a look for these. Okay, so there's a few things you can tell they've worked on. For example, interpersonal communication skills sufficient to establish and maintain effective relations with a wide range of contacts. One of the key things that we always say to organisations, if you're going to put essentially good communication skills in your job spec, give some context, and you can tell they've tried to do that here. So, so there's a lot of things here on the spec. But what we'll do is we'll have a look at the apply now and see what happens here. Now, I won't go through the whole process, of course, but let's have a quick look. So you would need to create a sort of an account, it would seem, and go from that point onwards. So what we may do is do a follow-up video around this just to have a look and see what that process looks like after I'm a registered user. But again, looking here to create an account is one of those things I'm not a massive fan of with these type of organisations, and so yeah, that's not a red flag, but it's not ideal, right? So let's go back to the Extend program a second, and so I just want to look at something else briefly. So there's also a Extend talent pool mail waiting list. So just want to have a look at this. And again, you can tell that this is a link that takes a little bit of time to get to. But what you can do here is you can register for the talent pool. So what this means is that essentially they don't have roles that are going to be suitable for everyone or roles that everyone will be interested in. So what you can do is you're just going to zoom in a little bit more on that. You can look here to register for the talent pool. So you click on this, and then you can go in and you can put in your information, your name, email address, upload a CV, link to any GitHubs or anything else. You can put in some free text, which I quite like, in terms of the type of things you're interested in. Country option, preferred country location, which is good. You're over 18, and submit. So look, fairly easy to navigate. I would suggest there, to be honest. So not too much criticism there. So let's just read this a second. So again, what we have here so far is it's pretty straightforward in a lot of ways. And I suppose it's been designed that way to make sure that it's one of those processes that is quite straightforward for people to navigate. So we have, I think we've covered everything on there really. I'm just going to click extend here and see what happens. Yeah, it's the same page. So the roles are quite clearly laid out. There's a few FAQs there. There's a video which we suggest you have a look at. They talk about adjustments. The jobs are easy to find. We know this link doesn't work. You can join the mailing list. So I'd be quite interested in seeing someone's experience of this in applying for a role. Most importantly, I'm quite interested in seeing when you apply, what type of reply you get, right? Because not every role you apply for is going to be suitable. Not every role you're going to apply for, you're going to have the skills for, or you may have other candidates. But I'd be interested to know if you get an interview, what the interview looks like. So there's definitely an opportunity to have a follow-up video here, because on the face of it, I really like this, right? I think creating opportunities is good. There's a few ableist style comments on here, which I think are could use maybe a little bit of work, but you can tell that there's a bit of thought gone into this, and I think if this does create more opportunities for neurodivergent individuals, then fantastic. So yeah, I mean I think it's one of those that we'll see and keep an eye on this from our side as well. I think it's really important that these type of schemes are given a little bit of sort of exposure from organisations like ours, but it is important to also make sure that we look at them through a lens to say, are they working for the community? So this will be added to webinar collections where you can have a look at it. I mean, the best thing to do will be go on it, just play around with it yourself and see what you think. Let us know if you've got, of course, if you've had any experience with BBC Extend. If you have, then there's definitely a conversation to see whether we can have a chat on the follow-up webinar to learn a little bit more about your experience. If you can use direct messaging if you need any specific advice or you want to sort of highlight anything in relation to the BBC Extend scheme. But yeah, it looks like a decent initiative, but look, the proof's in the pudding, right? So also, look, this is the first time obviously I've sort of jumped between website and PowerPoint, so thank you very much for any patience around the clunkiness of that, and obviously we'll look to try and make sure it's a bit more streamlined, but hopefully you saw everything that you needed to see. When we add the when we had the webinar, we'll also put the link into the comment section underneath. So please feel free to go and have a look at it. And yeah, we'll look forward to seeing any thoughts. So thank you very much for watching for today. Any questions, please let us know, of course, and look forward to seeing you on the next webinar. Thank you.
Thank you for watching. Make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And scan the QR code to join the Diversa Connect community.